business class. I'm at the office and we got all that high end stuff and we got IT people that take care of it and that protects us. And this $79 thing I bought off eBay is just as good because it only has to worry about my home.
That's right. It works, right? It works.
It works.
Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right.
Donna, we need to have a talk.
Don't you hate it when you hear that?
Yeah.
From anybody?
Your mind goes straight to there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I use to my advantage because I'll do it oftentimes when it's good news or not a problem, just to catch people off guard. Like, hey, we need to have a talk. And they're like, what's wrong? I'm giving you a raise. And they're like, what? Scare me to death. But we do need to have a talk with the listeners, because if you think your cybersecurity and threats and all that ends at the door of your office when you leave work, you would be sadly mistaken.
Yes, indeed.
And one of the things that is now happening, for those of you who may not yet know, is that home routers, and all of you probably have one. If you don't know, you probably still have one. Even if you never bought one, you probably still have one because it was probably given to you by your internet service provider. But anyway, there's a lot of home routers right now that are being, I wouldn't necessarily say banned, but they're on a list, like a list of FCC saying that, these things are made by foreign countries and we're not so sure about the security of these things and whether or not they're spying on people. And they've already caught some that are. So
yeah,
it's a big problem.
Yeah. Well, it's not just spying on people, but able to use them in attacks on businesses and our government from inside the house, so to speak, that they're actually sold in the U.S. and they're in all of the homes. And there was one recently where it was like thousands of routers were found to be in a botnet that could just be aimed at anything. And that's terrifying. That can happen easily.
This is one of those areas where I feel like you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And so for those who are listening and they're like, well, I'm not too worried about that, home router, whatever. I mean, honestly, you're part of the problem. Like, you need to figure this out. If your home router is on one of these lists, or if you got one that's foreign made, and chances are you probably do, because most of these consumer grade routers are made outside the United States. And if you don't at least take the time to go and look at what you have, then you can be part of the bigger issue.
Well, and, even the parts themselves all come from somewhere else, which kind of ties into some of the stuff. But, one big thing is don't panic. It doesn't mean that your router has to be replaced right away. But on the flip side of that, it does mean you need to actually worry about your router.
Yeah.
And it's not just your home, but potentially some of these may be, used in small businesses.
They absolutely are. I mean, the number of times I've gone into small businesses and they're using consumer grade products is pretty high, because this is where it gets into, well, it works versus it's secure and working.
Well, in the before times, it was, it was okay because you didn't need the high end stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I remember, back in the day that if you had a Linksys router, everybody had a Linksys router.
Yeah, little blue and black ones.
Yeah, they were one of the first ones where you could connect in the high speed internet stuff, post dial up.
Yeah. And then we didn't deal with the security stuff that we have to deal with today.
Oh, no,
So-
not at all.
Unfortunately, like so many things that we work with, people still think it's like it used to be.
Yep, they do.
Technology has changed. And sometimes that's to your benefit and you jump on board, but you need to realize all technology has changed. So stuff you've done before may not be okay to do today. And
Yeah.
that's where we run into trouble.
Yeah, and these types of devices, I don't know about you, Donna, but I often see, especially in homes, where somebody may set up one of these devices, and I mean, it might function for a decade. They never look at it again. It's covered in dust in some closet somewhere,
Yeah.
and they've upgraded their internet several times, but it's like, as long as it's working, nobody cares. Nobody
Yeah.
thinks anything about it. Sometimes they don't even know it's there. It's like, if you ask them the question, like, where's your router? I don't have one. I'm like, yeah, you do. It's right here.
You have internet, right? How do you get the internet? Let's
Yeah.
start with that.
Yeah. I remember, this is not a router, but I remember this company had switches, and we were finding them in a network scan. And I'm like, where are your switches at? Your network switches? Oh, we don't have any of those. I'm like, you do have them. There's 3 of them that are showing up. Where are they? We don't have any of them. And they ended up being up in a ceiling tile.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
It's just crazy where you can find
yeah.
them.
And how many years those were there, who knows? But this is, this can go back to a whole conversation about making sure that you understand where your, technology assets are and have that written down.
Yeah, and it goes for at home as well, because you're building this connection of your home and you're putting all kinds of devices on this thing. I mean, used to it was just your computer and you had no,
Oh yeah. No.
it's always on and there's stuff happening 24/7. And if you read your logs about the traffic that was occurring on your network constantly,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason, that scam they do where they tell you they're calling from Microsoft and you do the commands on your computer and they're taking you into the event viewer and you're looking at logs that are always there. They don't
Right.
mean anything's wrong, but there's a lot of activity taking place. Same concept. It freaks people out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that happens, which is why you wouldn't necessarily always notice that these things are being used. And everybody seems to think, okay, well, it's just my router. But imagine being the person that has control over literally hundreds of thousands of these things
Yeah.
around the world and being able to say, okay, all you little bots, I want you to aim at this one server until you make it go down.
Mm-hmm.
That's not out of the question.
Yep. And you're at home and you're going, why is my TV buffering?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is it my computer? Is it what's going
No,
on?
this is
and
is
then you
when they
blame
go,
the ISP. Right.
Exactly. That's where I was going with that. I was like, yeah. And then you're like, our internet service provider sucks.
Now,
I hear that all the
in all
time.
fairness, a lot of people use the routers that their internet service provider gave them. So,
Yeah. Well, again, you need to know that, and don't assume that. Well, my service provider provided this thing, and so if they need to replace it, they will. I would not assume that. I would go and check for myself, and I would make a phone call if I needed to, and said, "This thing needs to be replaced. What are you doing about it?" Because in my experience, a lot of these service providers, they will replace your hardware, but only if you ask. Otherwise, they'll leave it there until they're forced to replace it.
well, yeah, I mean, what's in it for them? Right?
Yeah.
But this will impact a lot more than what I think people truly understand. And just for an example, in January, the state of Texas filed a lawsuit against a company called TP Link, and they make a ton of stuff, and it's
Oh
good
yeah.
equipment. I mean, used it forever, but it's not.
Mhm.
We're not supposed to be using Chinese manufactured equipment. According to TP Link, theirs is not Chinese manufactured. It's Vietnamese manufactured.
Okay.
And according to the lawsuit, it's like all they're doing is making all the parts, software, everything's being done in China. They're shipping it over to Vietnam, assembling it, and then shipping it out as if it was made in Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
And secretly, it's not. And, from one perspective, it's just a company playing loosey goosey with the rules. In another perspective, it's a company that's assisting in some sort of nefarious activity. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And TP Link, they make cameras, they make smart home devices, they make routers, they make switches. I mean,
Mhm.
I've had a number of like TP Link smart plugs, the
Oh,
AC
yeah.
plugs. When
That's good
when
equipment.
this started, I know when this started coming out, I'm like, man, I got to replace all this stuff in here.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not saying rush out and replace all your stuff, but you need to understand that you should pay attention.
Yeah. Would you even know if any of that stuff in your home was being used for nefarious reasons?
Right. And, on the flip side, TP Link swears that this is a smear campaign from a competitor that is trying to shut them down and get them out of the market. And that's not completely out of the question either in this stuff. I mean, yeah. But the bottom line is, what can we trust? Is there transparency in place so that we can know for sure that we can trust them? And who's controlling the firmware and making sure it gets updated? And that's the part that it doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. It's those things that we need for this equipment. And right now, we're apparently in a new Wild West phase. I don't know.
Well, when you think about work from home, like most of my clients, they have people that work from home, and there's really no conversation about what that home network looks like. We're providing, hopefully, we're providing the security on the device itself.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it ends. Like, we don't require everybody to have a commercial grade firewall and router and all this kind of stuff. That's typically not what we've done. We tried to do that years ago, but it was so expensive.
Yeah.
We got some clients that literally have, 60, 70 people working from home. So they, the whole beauty of bring your own device, that kind of goes out the window if it's like, oh yeah, now you're bringing your own network, but we don't want you to do that. We want to provide a network. It's just complicated. You can't do it, but you have to have some type of conversation about, hey, employee A and B, what are you running here? What type of devices do you have? No different than you probably want to know what kind of computer they have. You want to make sure that there's no malware on it and things like that. Now this extends down even more so now to even the network level.
Well, and there are companies that have the ability to make the employee kit, right? Where they send them a router that you could even connect into your home network to block traffic from, no inbound traffic except for what's already pre-configured to be allowed. So that it becomes a secondary router behind your main router, because now I don't care. But then I'm also giving you a laptop that I am configuring. And we're getting to the point where, BYOD was great, but there's a reason we used to have a company phone and a personal phone.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, BYOD has never been great for IT.
No, it's only been great for cost saving for companies. That's it. So here's the thing. So everybody has these routers. They're in their house, and you're not even paying attention, but you've got this thing sitting over here, and you think it's protecting you. Problem number
Nope.
one. Because if that thing's compromised, it can grab any traffic going in and out of it and do what it wants to with it, right? It can be used as an attack device itself. And then on top of that, you don't even update the firmware. You don't know what model it is. You've never touched the default settings. And I am glad, though, the ISPs now, they don't send them out with the default username and password. And many of the manufacturers now, they don't have it. They have a password that's pre-configured on the device,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on a little sticker. And if you do a hard reset on the device, that's what it's going to put it back as. But does that mean, David, that you should leave it to what's on the sticker and not change it?
Absolutely not.
Oh, because somebody knows that somewhere. That's the thing that I think is the big thing is you think the door's locked, and it is. But what you don't know is how many people have a key to the door, and that door can be reached from anywhere in the world. So if you have a key and you don't know how many have a key, you're SOL.
Yeah. And, used to, you could just basically Google the device and it would say, here's the default username and password.
Mhm.
Give it a try. And a lot of times that worked. And, for those that kind of rotate through keys, I haven't done this in a long time, so I don't know if these sets of keys are now posted online somewhere or not. I've not looked, but just because you have something that's unique doesn't mean somebody won't someday get a hold of a list and then publish that list.
Yeah. I mean, you can never assume that any piece of information that allows you access to something is secured, even if it's in your own brain. I always
Mhm.
worry about my own brain screwing things up. But
Yeah. Well, maybe one of the even more concerning things I see people do sometimes is, they have the 3 passwords they use everywhere. And so when their device says you need to change your password, they just set it up with a password that probably has already been breached somewhere. You're not doing any good for yourself when you do that.
Yeah, and well, friend of mine was over talking with us this weekend, and he was so proud to say all of my passwords are now in a password manager. He was very proud of himself because we had been nagging him about it for a long time. And he's like, I don't have a book anymore. It's all shredded, and now I can access it anywhere, and it's really great. And I didn't want to push because he was so proud he had finally done it. I didn't want to push on, have you made it all be unique passwords? Because that's exactly, the next step. But when we look at what's happening on these home networks, and then people are working from home, and yeah, a lot of companies have brought everybody back to the office. We had the COVID years where everybody got used to working from home, but we'll be able to work from home. A lot of people have it where, okay, you can't work every day at home, but you can work occasionally at home, part-time, full-time. So a lot of that's going on. But another thing that I don't think everybody's thinking about is, we've got the fuel prices rising and concern about shortages. And I grew up in the 70s. You were a kid of the 80s. I was a kid of the 70s and 80s. So I remember those times. Again, the before times. And trying to get gas. I mean, I saw a video where people in India already were in a fight over who got to put the gas pump in their gas because it was getting low. Like they were fighting over a gas pump.
Yeah.
Multiple people. So with that in mind, what?
I saw that during Hurricane Hugo back in '89.
Yeah.
when we had a gas shortage, not because of gas, but because of a natural disaster.
Right. But it's still similar problem. You couldn't get it to you.
Yep.
And if it doesn't exist to deliver it, So you got the prices going up and shortages potentially happening. So that's going to encourage people to solve that problem by letting people work at home more.
Mhm.
I feel we're in a vicious loop. But so, now they've gotten used to, again, okay, I've got everything where I've got a little bit more control, and now we're going to spread it back out again. And this router equipment becomes another issue, right? And it's kind of like thinking where people think that, that business class, I'm at the office and we got all that high end stuff and we got IT people that take care of it and that protects us. And this $79 thing I bought off eBay is just as good because it only has to worry about my home.
That's right. It works, right? It works.
It works. If it ain't broke, though.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes it's faster, right? Because it doesn't have the overhead of the security.
Yeah. Yeah, it's way faster because it doesn't have any protections whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, my car goes faster when I take the brakes off of it.
So we've got that scenario and we got everybody going to work. Now, here, first of all right, here's what you need to do, period. It doesn't matter whether you work from home or you're retired and anybody that has internet right now, period. You should know what kind of router you have.
Yeah.
There you go. Because number one, you should know that anyway.
It's blue. I have the blue router.
That's like the internet is the blue, is the internet. The little when everybody thought that Internet Explorer was the internet. No, it's the little bluey. But
yeah, I think my best service call ever was a lady who says, "I can't download the internet."
Yeah, and then you're starting from a very challenging point right away, aren't you?
Yep.
But for those of us who work with these things all the time, I know what router I have. I also know I check it periodically to make sure and match it to the latest firmware. I know the manufacturer, the model number, and it is the one provided by the ISP for my fiber connection. And then it goes into the other devices that, I don't need it for my actual network, but it's the same as anybody else that's got the same fiber connection.
Yep.
It just has a different password. And it doesn't match the password that's on the sticker. But if I know what that is, I know what the firmware, I know whether it's the recent, I've changed all the passwords. I also know how old it is. Because what do we know about old equipment?
Well,
If it works.
I'm not going to throw shade at you there. Since you were just having a conversation about your old computer.
No.
Now, to put this in context though, for us, old is 4 years, 3-4 years.
Oh,
for some
yeah.
people, it's, 8 to 10 years.
If it's still working, it's staying. But yeah, equipment, yes. So if you don't know and you're just waiting on somebody to do it for you, you might have a long wait, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest reason that you need to know how old it is how likely it will be to die sometime soon.
Yeah.
And let's say all this goes into place and it dies, let's say 8 months from now. What is it? You remember April 2020, David, get me a laptop.
Yeah.
What happened then, David?
Well, supply chain shortages was a thing, and here we are again.
Yeah. And so you'll potentially be in the same situation needing a laptop where, and back then people were pulling computers out of closets and putting them together, patty caking something together that somebody could use at home. And they had the routers. So now my router dies. I don't have a replacement. And guess what? Your ISP may not have the replacements.
Yeah. Yeah. Because right now, for those of you who don't really follow any of this, there are major shortages in different types of chips for computers and other things like that. So it's hard right now. If you want to buy a new computer, I've got communications going on with all my clients now. Like, hey, we're having supply chain shortages. If you're wanting something, your lead time doesn't need to be days. It needs to be weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And even
or
then,
months.
not sure. Yeah. Even then we're not sure. But I heard, and I don't know how true this is, but I heard last week, I was with a group of MSPs. One of the ladies said that she has a friend. So of course we're going like third party conversation here. She's got a friend that was asked to order, get this now, $1 million worth of RAM. She had that big of an order, and the manufacturer would not sell it to her. They would not allow her to buy that much because of the shortages. They said, we've got these other companies that like data centers and such that they're already subcontracted for a certain amount and they just can't do it. So I was like, I can't imagine turning down $1 million sale.
But if I do that, then I can't sell to anyone else.
That's right. But the other part of it is not just the fluctuation in what you have the availability to get, but the fluctuation in pricing.
Yes.
So, as you know, when stock gets low, prices go up. And that's what we're seeing now too, where a friend of mine said he had an order for a server and it was, I don't remember the price of the server, but he said that from day one to day two, the price of the server went up by 45%.
Wow. Well, I mean, we are talking about my computer being old and needing to be replaced, and I've spec'd them with multiple vendors, and everything that meets my requirements, that is the price I want to pay, and the features I want to get, out of stock. There's parts that are out of stock, temporarily out of stock, temporarily unavailable, and it doesn't matter what vendor I'm speccing it with. So you add to that now I'm going to limit the number of devices and models from the vendors that are even allowed on the market in the first place. So now I'm going to limit that. And our supply chain is already just choked. What is it going to do? That's why you need to get your backup, in place today if you've got an old one. I had a 4-year-old UTM, we'll call it, device, and I didn't wait till it died. It was like a central point in my network. I replaced it ahead of schedule, not on death.
Yeah. It's like, I want to be in charge of when I replace this equipment, not let the equipment decide when I replace it.
That's exactly it. And so we're looking at all of these choke points about to hit us at the same time. And if you can't communicate, I mean, like on ours, I have a redundancy, but my backup one is so painfully slow, but it's slow enough that allows me to get to things if I'm not here and bring things back up, or at least know what's going on. And, not most homes are not going to be as nerdy as you and I are.
I would hope not. I've had my ISP come in here and like, I can't even figure you out. Like, I don't understand what you have here. You're gonna have to tell me what you've got. This is crazy. Like, we don't
Yeah.
even see this in the business stuff around.
Yeah. Well, that's you do like I do. I was like, look, there's your little area. You just do that, and then I'm good. You make sure that
Yeah.
works, and then I'm good. You
Yeah.
can go.
Yeah. All I need you to do is put everything in bridge mode and leave.
Yeah. Or let me control it so I can do it, right?
Yeah.
Which I do prefer. But hey, what are you going to do? But this is a time for you to evaluate all of your technology. Yes, the home router is going to be a major thing that's just been made worse. And not necessarily by this FCC approach. It was already bad. And they're doing this because we're having the problems that we're having with secure devices. So it's not like, oh, well, they just don't need to do that. That's not going to fix the problem. So, what is our to-do list, David?
Well, we've already talked about, making sure you find out who the manufacturer is. So pick up that little blue box and flip it over. There should be a name of somewhere on there. And then, you also want to figure out what model it is. And sometimes you can even find like a date of manufacturer on it. And that'll give you some idea. If not, then go to your friendly Google and ask. And this is a good time too. If you can log into it, you want to figure out what firmware version you're on. And to me, it's always concerning when I'm like, I'm on version 3, but the newest version out is version 18. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what I do. I like go into a panic mode. But the other side of the coin is too, I've seen devices where I bought it, it was on version 3, and 3 years later, it's still on version 3. For some reason, that concerns me just as much.
I know. It's like, I know you're not perfect. I'm just as scared of that. I agree.
I know. So when I see that, actually, I have replaced equipment before because I was like, there's no way it's gone 3 years and no update. Just no. I can't. No, I got to get rid of it. You've already mentioned this, but change all the default passwords. Hopefully you've done it already. If you haven't, do it. If you aren't sure, do it anyway. If you're using one of the 3 passwords you use for everything, change it.
Yeah.
And if it's really old, we already talked about this too, just consider replacing it now before there's even more supply chain issues.
And even if it comes from your MSP, talk to them about it. This thing's really old, and it like skips sometimes and slows down, and it's really, really old. I want to get it replaced. Don't tell them you listen to this podcast. Please do not. Don't do that. But and another thing, like when you flip it over, take a picture of it. There's your documentation. It's not complicated. Take a picture of the screen. If you open it up, just take a picture of it. Now you have that documentation readily available, assuming that you don't lose your phone and don't back up everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, if you want a little insider hack here, anytime that I go in and make any changes to equipment, whether it's my home or otherwise, I always take screenshots first because inevitably at some point, something's going to not work. And you're like, oh, I changed 5 things and I don't remember how, what I changed or whatever. So just take screenshots. That way you can put something back the way it was.
Yeah. Get your before and after. Before and after.
Yeah.
Before and after. Definitely get your before and after.
It's almost as bad as somebody calling you and saying, the computer wouldn't print. And I'm like, but I got it working. Great. What did you do? We rebooted everything. Okay, fantastic. I'm glad it's working, but we still have no earthly idea what the problem was.
What's wrong?
Yeah. And then usually the next question is, well, do you know what happened to it? No, I have no idea because you rebooted everything.
Yeah. That's it. We're out. We're done. Maybe it'll happen again. We'll look then.
Yeah, but it's working, so carry on.
Yeah. So there we've had your talk. We've had the talk about home routers, and actually all technology you got, because of the supply chain issues, everybody needs to really think this through of, if a computer dies, in your home or your business, does anyone hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just think about how are you going to route your life around it.
Oh, yuck, 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 yuck. It was there. You had to use it.
I had to do it. All right, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening. And be sure to go flip over that blue device or black or white or whatever color you have.
Yeah.
And check it out. So don't be caught lacking, as they say. All right. Be sure to join us again next week. And remember, for Donna and myself, the HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.